You know that old saying in science, stand on the shoulders of giants? The idea that you should follow the brightest stars, the biggest names in the field. Well, what if that's actually bad advice? What if following a superstar is actually holding back the next big breakthrough? A fascinating new study dug right into this paradox, and trust me, what they found might just change the way you think about scientific progress.
So this is really the core question, isn't it? If you're a young scientist, is hitching your wagon to a giant the fastest way to become a star yourself? Or does it just trap you in their shadow, preventing you from ever really making your own mark? Before we get to the answer, let's just unpack the conventional wisdom. Yeah, the story we're always told about academia is that it's this pure meritocracy. The best ideas always win, period. And who's leading that charge? The superstars, right? The most brilliant minds who are supposedly guiding the next generation toward greatness.
I love this quote from Carl Sagan because it captures it so perfectly. Nothing comes from nothing. All creation, and especially scientific discovery, builds on what came before. And in science, those giants we're supposed to be standing on the shoulders of are the superstars.
So the advice you'd probably get is pretty straightforward. If you want a successful career, you need to follow, cite, and work with these top scientists. It's pitched as the surest, safest path to success. And on the surface, that sounds totally logical, right?
And let's be super clear about one thing. These superstars are the real deal. This isn't just about hype. The data shows they've absolutely earned their titles. On average, their work is 83% more innovative, and their biggest papers are a whopping 93% more disruptive than their peers. These are genuinely brilliant people. Okay, but wait a second. How on earth do you actually measure something as abstract as innovation or disruption? To really get what the study found, we've got to pop the hood and look at the tools the researchers used. It's actually pretty clever.
All right, first up, innovation. The way they defined this was by looking for new connections. Imagine all of scientific knowledge is a giant map of dots, where each dot is a concept. Innovation is when a paper comes along and draws a line between two dots that have never, ever been connected before. Simple, but a really powerful way to measure novelty.
Then you've got disruption. This is my favorite one. It's basically a measure of how much a new paper just changes the whole conversation. A highly disruptive paper is like a massive plot twist in a movie, the kind that makes you go, whoa, and suddenly everything that came before is seen in a totally new light, and the story just veers off in a new direction.
And finally, the last piece of the toolkit is redundancy. This is pretty much what it sounds like. It measures how much a scientist's work looks like everybody else's. So high redundancy means you're working on a really popular, crowded topic. You're on well-trodden ground. Keep this one in your back pocket because it's key to the whole paradox.
So we have our tools: innovation, disruption, and redundancy. Now for the million-dollar question. What happens when we use these tools to look at the people who follow the superstars? Well, this is where things get really complicated. It turns out to be a classic double-edged sword.
So here it is, the big trade-off. On the one hand, if you follow a superstar, your career looks great on paper. You publish more, you get cited more, all the traditional metrics are up. But, and this is a huge but, the actual content of your work suffers. It becomes less innovative, less disruptive, and way more redundant.
And just how much more redundant are we talking? Get this. The papers from the most dedicated followers are, on average, 36% more similar to each other. 36%. That suggests they're all working inside this tiny scientific echo chamber, just exploring the same narrow set of ideas.
You can see the pattern so clearly here. The metrics that we use for career advancement, citations, publications, they're high. But the metrics for actual scientific advancement, innovation, and disruption are way, way lower. It's a really stark and kind of worrying trade-off.
So what is really going on here? Is that citation boost real? Is it earned? Or is something else happening behind the scenes? Well, the researchers dug one level deeper, and this next part is the big aha moment of the entire study. To get to the truth, they asked this brilliant, simple question. What happens to a follower's success when you only look at the work they do completely by themselves, without their superstar mentor? And the method they used was just chef's kiss. So they found scientists who worked with a superstar early in their career. Then, and this is the genius part, they found a matching group of scientists with the exact same publication rate, who started in the exact same year, but who didn't have that superstar connection. This lets you isolate the effect of that one collaboration perfectly.
Okay, so first, let's look at the results when you include all their papers. And yep, just as you think, the early collaborators have a massive advantage in citations. It looks like the follow the superstar strategy is a huge success. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. Watch what happens when we strip out the superstar collaborations and look only at their independent work. Poof. The advantage almost completely evaporates. That massive career boost wasn't really coming from their own work. It was almost entirely borrowed prestige, just from having a superstar's name on the paper. And here's the real kicker. It actually gets worse. Not only does the citation boost vanish, but the study found that on their own work, these early collaborators were actually less innovative than the peers who went it alone from the start. Ouch. I mean, that is a truly profound finding. It forces you to just step back and ask some really big questions. What does this all mean for how we structure science, for how we fund it, and for how we even define what a successful career looks like? So let's just recap the key takeaways here. Number 1, superstars are the real deal. They're genuinely brilliant. But, number 2, following them too closely seems to push people towards safer, less original work. Number 3, that big career boost their followers get is mostly an illusion of borrowed prestige. Which leads to the big one, our whole system might be accidentally rewarding conformity over true game-changing breakthroughs. The study's authors really just hit the nail on the head with this quote. Basically, what's good for an individual's resume might actually be bad for the progress of science as a whole, and that right there is the paradox. And all of this leaves us with a final, really provocative question. In a world with limited research funding, where should we place our bets for the next big breakthrough? On the proven, brilliant superstars, or on the independent, potentially more disruptive scientists who are working in their shadows? It's a question with no easy answers, and one that's well worth pondering. Thanks so much for watching.